This was nothing short of a miracle in the history of prison escapes, involving over 200 participants. To prevent prisoners from digging underground tunnels, the prison was not only built on soft, sandy soil, but also had its barracks raised off the ground. Most remarkably, the authorities had buried a row of seismograph microphones underground to detect any digging sounds. The prison perimeter was surrounded by barbed wire fencing, with guard towers positioned every 20 feet. Soldiers patrolled around the clock, ready to open fire at the first sign of trouble. The camp had earned a reputation as virtually escape-proof, until this man arrived. From the moment Mike set foot in the prison, he began plotting his escape. His first move was to reach out to John, an engineer, and Paul, a master forger. The three men huddled together to hash out a plan. They quickly settled on digging a tunnel, but Mike had an audacious idea. They would dig 3 tunnels simultaneously. That way, if one was discovered, they'd still have 2 backups. To bolster security, the prison authorities had assembled an elite unit codenamed the Ferrets, a highly trained team whose constant surveillance made escape seem nearly impossible. But Mike's plan was meticulous, with every detail carefully thought through. First, he gave each tunnel a human name, using these codenames to throw off the Ferrets' surveillance. The guards regularly planted informants among the prisoners, but this didn't faze Mike and his crew. Only the 3 masterminds knew the full escape plan, and anyone who wanted in had to be vouched for by someone they trusted. Without inside connections, infiltrators didn't stand a chance. Mike also devised an elaborate system of secret signals. A twist of a cap brim could confirm someone's identity, while scratching one's head meant someone was eavesdropping. Before long, Mike's secret team had grown to 200 men. Now came the critical phase, putting the plan into action. First up was the tunnel digging. Since the loose, sandy soil was prone to collapse, Mike had his team gather bedboards and smuggle them into the tunnels to shore up the walls. But how could they ensure the boards held together securely? John came up with a clever solution. He cut notches into the ends of 3 boards so they could interlock, effectively preventing cave-ins. Next, they needed proper tools. By dismantling a record player, they salvaged a metal spring, straightened it out, and filed it into a serrated edge, turning it into a makeshift hacksaw. The third and most crucial step was the actual digging. To avoid the seismograph sensors buried 6 feet down, they had to dig their tunnel 30 feet deep and extend it 400 feet horizontally to reach the forest beyond the walls. This meant moving at least 125 tons of sand and dirt to make the escape possible. To deal with all that soil, John devised an ingenious method. They sewed everyone's long underwear together to create bags for carrying the dirt. The next day, during yard time, they would casually scatter the soil across the grounds. This little detail actually inspired a scene in the movie The Shawshank Redemption. The next challenge was choosing the tunnel entrances. Since the barracks were elevated, any activity underneath would be easily spotted. But John quickly identified a weak point, the load-bearing wall running through the middle of the camp. If they placed the tunnel entrance there, no one outside would notice a thing. To camouflage the entrances indoors, Mike designed tunnel number 1's entrance to be hidden beneath a heating stove, tunnel number 2's beneath a shower drain, and tunnel number 3's cleverly disguised as an indoor chimney base. But their luck didn't last. One day, the guard captain came into the barracks for coffee. As he walked past the stove, he noticed a small piece of flooring had been chipped away. He tapped the floor and heard an unusual hollow sound. He had found tunnel number 1. Once exposed, the guards blew up that entire barracks with explosives. To expand the compound, they cleared the surrounding trees, which inadvertently destroyed tunnel number 3's exit point as well. Now only tunnel number 2 remained intact. But as the tunnel grew longer, oxygen became scarce. Mike had a flash of inspiration. They collected empty powdered milk cans, punched out the tops and bottoms, and linked them together to create a ventilation pipe stretching over 300 feet. But they still needed an air pump. John suggested using 2 canvas kit bags to create a bellows system. By squeezing the bags, they could force air into the pipe. To keep the air from flowing backward, John fashioned a one-way valve from a leather disc. Problem solved. However, the tunnel was so narrow that larger men had trouble moving through it. To address this, they laid wooden rails and built a small trolley, using a pulley system to transport people deep into the tunnel. They even expanded a section in the middle of the tunnel to create a rest area that could hold 10 men at a time. Finally, they stole a 1,000-foot electrical cable and some light fixtures, tapping into the camp's power grid. With constant improvements, digging progressed rapidly. By January 1944, they were just 60 days away from their escape date. As the tunnel neared completion, Paul got to work forging documents to avoid raising suspicion. He not only aged the paper to look authentic, but also painstakingly replicated official handwriting with his brushes. The official stamps, however, had him stumped for a while. John soon figured it out. He peeled leather from a boot sole and spent 5 days meticulously carving it with a surgical blade until he'd created a stamp that was virtually indistinguishable from the real thing. But what about the passport photos? Mike instructed team members to steal guards' ID badges and keys, then use these as leverage against them. Since losing personal items meant severe punishment from the warden, the guards quickly caved and helped smuggle in a camera. Before long, 200 forged documents were ready. On the evening of March 24, 1944, the escape finally began. All 200 participants gathered in Barracks 104, the entrance to tunnel number 2. After receiving their fake papers, they waited in silence. Under Mike's direction, they entered the tunnel one by one, crawling through the long passage toward freedom. But the first man to emerge quickly realized a problem. The tunnel exit was too close to the camp. A guard tower loomed directly overhead. There was no turning back now. They could only inch forward under the cover of moonlight. One by one, they crawled out and vanished into the forest. During the transfer, however, a wooden board came loose inside the tunnel, causing a partial collapse. Rebuilding the damaged section cost them over 3 hours. At 4:45 a.m., dawn began to break. The 77th prisoner had just emerged from the tunnel when a patrolling guard spotted him. The guard rushed over with his rifle and the escape was officially blown. Several prisoners who had made it out were captured on the spot, while those still inside had no choice but to crawl back. Fortunately, the 76 who had escaped earlier had already disappeared into the dense forest. In the aftermath, guards launched a massive manhunt, and many escapees were recaptured. Mike, the mastermind behind it all, was not spared either. While boarding a train, guards discovered his forged papers, and he was executed on the spot.